Hi, Mrs. B here. Let's review for the Chapter 9 test. Remember to pause the video, try the problems yourself, and then play the video to check your answers. Okay, here we go. Okay, when we describe the intersection of a plane and a solid, we're describing the shape that's formed right where we had cut the solid. So for A, that would definitely be a triangle. And for B, it looks like a cube has been cut right down the middle, so we formed a square. And then for C, we've cut that triangular prism right down the center, so we formed a rectangle. Okay, let's find the surface area of the prisms and pyramids. So for the triangular prism, what I like to do is draw a net, a very sloppy net. Okay, I'm going to label the three sides of my triangle along the three rectangles. So we have a 6, an 8, and a 10, and it doesn't matter the order. And then our height is the connection between the two triangles, so that would be 7. Okay, so our three rectangles would be 6 times 7, 8 times 7, and 10 times 7. And then our two triangles are 6 by 8s, so 1/2 base times height means each one of them is 24. So to get the total, we would add up the 5 faces, and our total is 216 inches squared. For a square pyramid, we want to, you could draw a net, not as necessary, I think, as a triangular prism. But our base is a square, that's 1 by 1, so the area of the base would be 1. And each of the triangles is a 1 by 2. So 1/2 base times height means each of the triangles has an area of 1. So we add up the 5 faces and we have a surface area of 5 inches squared. And then for our triangular prism, we have a triangle on the base, so we have 3 of the lateral faces. Just don't forget that your base is different area than the lateral faces. So for our base, we're going to do 1/2 of our 9.5 times 11. So that comes out to 52.25. And then for each of our lateral faces, we have 1/2 of, it's 11 times 15. So I'm just going to write it divided by 2. So each of those is 82.5. So don't forget to multiply that by 3 and add on the 52.25. And altogether, you have 299.75 meters squared. Okay, moving on. All right. So if we're looking for the least amount of wrapping paper, we're really just finding the surface area. You could do more paper if you wanted to overlap, but to completely cover it without any overlap, we're just finding the surface area. So let's use the smiley face method. 2 and a 4 and an 8. So we're going to find the area of each face. And don't forget, we have 2 of each of those faces, so let's multiply the sum of 8 plus 16 plus 32. We should be getting this answer of D. Okay, moving on, a little tricky, example 3, but if we know the surface area of a cube, we can divide it by 6. And that would tell us that each of the faces has an area of 16. So if you think of it, you have a square with an area of 16. So doesn't it have to be 4 by 4 to be a square? So we now know our dimensions of our cube must be 4 by 4 by 4. Since it is a cube, all the dimensions are the same. So to get the volume, just multiply length times width times height, and our total is 64, and that's inches cubed. Okay, for the graham cracker box, when you're doubling the height, it is kind of obvious that that would take more cardboard because it's like a long skinny box, and the other way is forming a cube, but they do say to justify our answer, so let's get the surface area of each of those boxes. So we have the one that the height has been doubled, and it's 18 now, so that would be a 2 by 6 by 18. I'm going to use the smiley face method and end up with a surface area of 312 inches squared. And for our second option, when we double the width, we've changed our width to 4. So for that box, we have a 4 by 6 by 9. Use the smiley face method, and you end up with a much smaller surface area of 228 inches squared. So therefore, the doubling the width answer is the one that we would pick. B asks what's the volume of the new graham cracker box. Whichever one you choose, multiply length, width, and height, and you end up with a volume of 216 inches cubed. Okay, let's move on, and let's find the volume of a rectangular prism whose dimensions are 3 times greater. So what that means is now our length is 4 times 3, so that would be 12 inches. Our width is now 3 times 3, so that's 9 inches, and our height is 2 times 3, which is 6 inches. So let's just multiply 12 times 9 times 6 to get the volume, which would be 648 inches cubed. I know it's tempting to just say the volume has been tripled, but just remember that length, width, and height have each been tripled, so it's actually 27 times greater. Okay, let's find the volume of each of the solids. So remember, our general formula for any prism is to do the area of the base times the height. And for our pyramid, we would do the same formula. I'm going to use the capital B for area of the base times the height, and remember that we divide it by 3. Okay, so let's start with number 6. The area of our base would be 1/2 of 6 times 12, which would be 36. And our height is 9. So we would just be doing 36 times 9 to get the volume. And that's 324 inches cubed. Okay, and for our rectangular prism, the area of our base is 8, and we're multiplying that by 5.2. So 8 times 5.2 gives us 41.6 cubic yards. And for our square prism, we have the area of our base as 24, and our height is 6. So 24 times 6, and we have to divide that by 3, and we end up with 48 cubic meters. All right, this is a pretty tricky question because of 2 things. We cannot coat the bottom with paint, and we need to do 2 coats. So basically, if I draw this out, here's the top of our ramp and the side, but there's no bottom. And then we do have our 2 triangles. So we're finding the surface area of this, and we're multiplying that by 2. So the first thing is to find the 2 lengths of the triangle that make the top and the side, and that's the 15.2 and the 6. And our height, Sorry, that's sloppy. Our height is 19.5. So the area of those two rectangles would be 296.4 and 117. And each of our triangles on the side are 14 by 6s, so 14 times 6 divided by 2 makes it 42. So if we add up 242s and the 296.4 and the 117, we get 497.4. But remember, that's only for one coat. So let's multiply by 2 to get 2 coats of paint. And our total would be 994.8 square feet that we're painting. And each quart of paint covers 80 square feet. So let's divide by 80 to see how many of these quarts we need. It ends up being 12.435. So we have to buy, we have to buy 13 quarts. All right, we're getting there. One more question. So this one is a little bit of a challenge, but I know you guys can all do this. So we know the volume of the box, and we know that volume is area of the base times the height. So let's take that volume, 3,240, and let's divide it by our height of 30. Okay, so that means the area of our base is 108. Just going to write that. And if you can picture that, you have a triangle that we know that the base of it is 18, and we're looking for the height, h. So in order to get the area of a triangle, we do 1/2 of the base times the height, and we know that's 108. So 1/2 of 18 is 9, so we have 9 times h is 108. Divide both sides by 9, you end up with a height of 12. And let's put our units on there at centimeters. So that's the first part of our problem. And the second part is another surface area of a triangular prism, our favorites. So let me just quick draw that. Okay, so now we need the 15s that are the same on two sides of our triangle because it's isosceles. So we have a 15 and an 18 and a 15. And our height connects the two triangles, so that's 30. So our three triangles are 450 and 540. And we have another 450. And then we already knew that the area of each of our bases was 108. So when we add up the 5 faces of this triangular prism, we get this 1,656 centimeters squared. Woo, that was a lot of work. Okay, I hope you did well on this review, and remember that if you want to get the bonus, you can tell what I drew on the video, which is a peace sign. All right, take care.